All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday, and welcome to our child welfare chat. This is
Are
our
you able to
summer
add the
edition.
interpreter to the main screen, please? Otherwise, I'm just going to be really tiny.
Thank you, yes. We'll wait for the interpreter to show up. There we go. Thank you. Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the summer child welfare chat for 2024. I'm Tim Gillette, the operations manager for child welfare and self-sufficiency programs, and I use he, him pronouns. I'll be facilitating this chat this morning. I want to start by acknowledging how difficult the summer has been with major fires affecting people all across Oregon. Many people are helping Oregonians across the state while dealing with potential evacuations of their own homes. Thank you for continuing to show up for each other and being patient during this stressful time. Let's start the chat with having everybody introduce ourselves. April, how about if you kick us off?
Thank you, Tim. Good morning. April Flint-Kerner here, she, her pronouns, Child Welfare Director.
Lacey?
Good morning, Lacey Andreessen. I use she, her pronouns. I'm one of the deputy directors for child welfare.
Molly?
Morning, everyone. I am Molly Miller. I am also one of the deputy directors for child welfare, and I use she, her pronouns.
Alicia?
Good morning, Alicia Cox, she, her pronouns, Assistant Deputy Director of Strategy and Innovation. Good to see you all.
And Tristan, you're not spotlighted, but if you could introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Happy to. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Tristan Fernandez, policy analyst. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a policy analyst primarily focused on legislation for child welfare. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you all. It looks like the run of people joining our chat this morning has slowed down. So let's share a few logistical details. A few reminders for today. Our meeting is being recorded, and as you can see, we have ASL and captioning also available. If you'd like to utilize the live captioning, please click on the CC button that's located at the bottom of your screen. And then, as you can see, the ASL is pinned right here. And then you can adjust the different window sizes in Zoom. So feel free to do that for your needs. Today, we do have the Q&A function available for questions. We will be able to see those as they come in, but we may not have time to address all of them today. If you're new to the chats, we always have a secret theme woven through the chat. If you pick up what the theme is, please drop your guess in the chat. For our agenda today, the executive leadership team will provide some updates on priorities through the end of the year, what you can expect next in the settlement, a brief update on our workforce academy. We have a budget and legislative update, and we will welcome our guests who are here to talk about RAFT training. With that, I think we're ready to get started. April, do you want to dive right in?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tim. It is April here. Good morning, everyone, again, and thank you all for joining today and balancing all the things and serving all the people. Before I get into updates, I want to really acknowledge those of you that are navigating this difficult time with so many wildfires across Oregon, as well as up and down the West Coast. Please know that we are fully aware of all the things that are happening with wildfires. We're thinking of you. We are here to be of support to you if you need anything, and of course, our families that we're serving. I'd like to take a moment to invite our child welfare business operations manager, Shirley Vollmuller, to give us a brief update on the wildfires and what we're doing to cover staff and families during this challenging time. Shirley, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Our wildfire season started extremely early this year, started back in June, and we have been extremely busy with multiple fires during the day. As you can see on the east side of the state, we've had some very large fires with multiple fires within very close proximity. Over in the Baker, Ontario area, we had, that was a stretch of level 1, 2, and 3 evacuations that ranged from Baker City south down to Ontario. And then around Burns, there is that large fire there, which has been impacting the Burns area, the John Day area. We also have that large fire that's up towards the Umatilla and D12 area. We started off with a large fire that was over in D9, and that one seems to be under control at this time. Down in the southwest, we have a range of fires, which at this time are not impacting any of our families, but it does range from just south of Salem down through Lynn, and then Lane. We've been fortunate this year. We haven't had a lot of fires down in the south, which is an area that we typically see a lot more fires. Typically, we appreciate everybody's cooperation with us. We could not do this work without you. The team consists of myself, Ashley Rogers, Alicia Livingstone, and this year we were very fortunate to have Sid Shearer and Madison Bond from SSP join our team to help support us as we have been extremely busy. I just wanted to take a quick minute to review the process so that everybody is aware. When we get a call or an IM from Orem, we have to quickly locate the fire on the map. And then we reach out to, during the day, we reach out to the program manager and let them know that there's a fire in their area. We then locate the list of families that are in that particular area and send it over to the program manager. If it's after hours or on the weekend, we are reaching out to the on-call person, and then we ask for their assistance in reaching out to the families that we have located in their particular area. This is, again, an immediate need. We identify those families that are in a level 3 go now. When we talk about a go now, it really does mean go now. You've probably got less than 5 minutes to grab things and run out the door. When you're in a level 2, we really encourage you to talk to the foster families, the resource families, or in-home families about getting ready, identifying a place to go, and then letting you know where they might go if they need to leave. Because these zones are changing extremely rapid from 1 to 2 to 3. We are able to assist at times with calling, but generally we're working more than one fire at a time. We're working multiple fires at a time. So occasionally we might reach out to a family to talk to them if it's late in the day, late in the evening, or if it is just one family, but we will notify the district that we have reached out to that family and what their plan is. We start a chat with the on-call worker, the program manager, the district manager. This helps us communicate quickly and easily and clearly to whoever we need to about what's going on within their district with the fires at that time. So we ask, and we'll probably do a little better job next year at this ask, is that starting probably in like March and April, that you start having conversations with your resource families about what their plan is if they have to evacuate. Make sure they have a clear plan of where they're going, that you know where they're going, and that they know to get in touch with you if they've had to evacuate. That would include for a flood, for a wildfire, or any other disaster that may strike in their area. We also ask that you please, please, please keep the information about your families, resource families, in-home families, up to date in ORCIDS. Somebody moves, make sure it's up to date as quick as possible. We've had several instances where we've identified a family and there's absolutely no contact information. We have to go into ORCIDs and dig around to dig up that information. That takes time away from our ability to respond and call other families or even get in touch with the district. So we ask that you keep that up to date on a daily basis. I wanted to point out that this is a map that only myself and the team have available to view. It does have a variety of different layers to it that we can turn on and off. But this map that Ashley is going to share now is called Watch Duty Wildfire Map. This doesn't give you all the levels of detail that we have, but it certainly can allow you to track those fires that are in your area. You may hear about a fire. Go ahead and click on one, just pick one. You may hear about a fire in your area. You can locate it on the map and then get some more detailed information about what's going on with that map, with that fire. And when fires cluster together, they call them a complex. So sometimes the names change from maybe Monkey Creek to a different name because it's now joined other fires and it's become a complex fire. Again, this can be downloaded onto your state cell phone and your personal cell phone. It is an approved app for our state phone. I do want to say that we appreciate the hard work that everybody has helped us out with. And if you please have any questions or you hear about a fire and want additional information, don't hesitate to reach out to Ashley or myself. And that's back to you.
Thank you so much for that update, Shirley, and for all of the hard work of your team and, of course, all of our staff out there who are living with all of this every day. Really appreciate all you do. Moving into updates, well, actually, right, as I was looking at that map and Kathy, who figured out what our Easter egg theme was for today, we were just talking before the chat about that we've got members of the gymnastics team, the women's gymnastics team that are right here from the Pacific Northwest, Jade and Jordan. Jordan's right in Vancouver, Washington, and Jade is a Beaver. And so just really excited about being able to celebrate this beautiful moment as a country and as a nation with the Olympics. We're really excited of them. And you all who know that I am a major Duck fan, you know, this is what I'm going to do to celebrate the Beavers right now. So anyway, moving into our updates, as most of you know, I've been in this position for a year. Just now feeling like I'm really getting my feet underneath me and it's given me and the executive leadership team time to think about, how do we switch up and change up some things. We really have been using these chats because of how we went into the global pandemic, and we're really out of the global pandemic, sort of, and really thinking about how do we keep engaging you all in ways that allow us to hear from you and take your feedback. One of the pieces of feedback that we've gotten is that some of the updates that we provide just aren't relevant to your day-to-day work, or that we need to do a better job of telling you all, like, why are we sharing this information with you, right? It might seem obvious to us, but if it doesn't help you do your job, then why are we talking about it? And so that's fair feedback. And so we want to keep updating and really using these spaces in ways that are of service to you all, or we're just wasting your time, right? So with that in mind, we're going to be trying some new things in terms of the way that we relay information and also in the way that we seek input. So because these staff chats are so big, I feel like our intent around answering challenging questions, we're never able to really fully get to them. But I want to be able to spend time with you all, hearing your feedback, answering questions and those kinds of things. But really want to use these chats as a place to give you all important information. So these meetings will be mainly focused on updates and key information that are relevant to all staff. And then questions and discussion are still really important to me. as well as the rest of the leadership team. So we're exploring some smaller settings for discussions and questions. I'm going to be setting up open lunch hours, and a schedule will be coming out around that for the next several months based on specific topics. And then we're going to kind of see how that goes. I'll get your feedback, and then we can have lunch and learns every week, every other week, every month, whatever feels appropriate and useful for staff. And some of the topics that I'm hoping we can explore to start, and I'm looking forward to your feedback. Feel free to throw some of these topics that you might be interested in the chat. But to start, the asked us to focus on customer service. And I was having a conversation with some union stewards and folks in labor, and they said, before you really go ask staff about what customer service looks like externally, we should really have a conversation about how do we promote a culture of customer service internally. I love that idea. It's really hard to model something that you're not experiencing. And I want to hear from staff about how we can support a culture of customer service and dignity, empathy, and respect, and how we treat one another internally as we really then work to kind of focus on how do we do that with families. I also want to hear staff ideas about how we can bring more clarity to your roles. I hear you. I hear you. Many of our case management staff and many of our delivery facing staff feel like you've got way too many things to do. There's a lot of people that are kind of crossing over roles. And, we've been taking your feedback in these Gallup surveys about what would make you feel more engaged. And I really want to know how we can bring more clarity to your roles and consistency and support, bringing more clarity and visibility around what your jobs actually are and what the expectations are. The other thing that's, keeps me up at night is how do I help make your jobs easier? It really does keep me up at night. It keeps the executive leadership teams. And I know that we get feedback that we are really disconnected from the work. And we want to know. We want to hear what are the things that you all don't think that we get, that we really need to understand, and how do we make your jobs easier to do, that you feel resourced, that you've got the tools that you need, that you feel valued. None of us are showing up in these spaces to make your jobs harder. We really aren't. And so we want to hear from you. And then another one that keeps me up, and I'll just be honest, this isn't to shame anyone, but overdue assessments stress me out for a few reasons. And I think they stress you all out too. And so why don't we just come together and talk about it? And the reason they stress me out is because if you all have too much work to do, then we don't know who to be most worried about. And if there are kiddos we're not seeing out there and they're unsafe, that's what stresses me out. And nobody wants kids to be unsafe, but we also don't want to be overly surveilling the wrong families. And so I think, I've been talking to central office people the entire time I've been at the agency, but I've never talked directly to staff. What do you think we could be doing differently to make sure that we are figuring out ways to make sure we're showing up and checking on kids? And then last, one of the issues that I'm really interested in is how do you think we could improve, our engagement with transition age youth and teenagers and young adults in this day and age? I'm old school, and so I think, as we think about modernizing our systems and using our technology in different ways, young people these days are engaged in new ways that maybe I'm old school now, right? And I want to hear from staff around what are things that are working to engage young people and lift up their voices. And so these are just a couple of topics that I've thought about, that I'm let me go to the people who are closest to the issue and just ask, where should we be innovating? What should we be prioritizing? So I'm really looking forward to these listening opportunities. My commitment to you, because one of the things that I don't love is when leaders come and say, I'm going to listen to you, and then we overpromise and underdeliver. My goal is to be transparent and talk with you, to have a dialogue with you about, where are these ideas totally in alignment with something we already have going? what are some of these ways these ideas can be like immediately like moved upon, and where are there things that might take longer to implement or that are completely off the table. My goal is to be really transparent with you all. And then when we have these chats, I can come back and say, I got a great idea out, or we got a great idea out of District 5, and here's what we're doing with it, right? I want to bring some transparency to the ways that your ideas are informing the way that we lead. And we're going to try it out. We're not going to get it perfect, but I am going to be starting those up very soon. In terms of questions that you all have and feedback, we are going to be setting up an email inbox that you can submit anonymous feedback, questions, and suggestions that we are going to track regularly. And then we might be able to use a little bit of time in these chats to just say, a theme that's come up in the last quarter is this. And here we're going to give you some data. We're going to give you some projects that are moving forward to address that idea. And that way we have more opportunity to have individual conversations and then be responsive to themes. So give me a moment to kind of get that going and see how this works. And no idea is too big or too small. And it can come from anywhere. I think transformation really happens day to day with you all, not necessarily me. So moving on to some other updates. I want to give a high-level overview around what's happening with this settlement agreement on this big class action lawsuit. One of the pieces of feedback that I've received lately is that people want to stop hearing about the lawsuit. I know it has been important for us in executive leadership to really get a hold of this class action lawsuit. It's actually a good thing y'all are tired of hearing about it, because what that tells me is that it's not driving your day-to-day work. And so our goal has been met. If we didn't spend the last several years really trying to keep it at bay from overwhelming our system, we talk about TL a lot, right? Well, my hope is that we're just continuing to do good work in transforming the system, and that we don't have to call it about the settlement agreement. We're just doing what's right for families. But I do need to give you a couple of highlights of some things that are happening. First of all, the settlement agreement for the class action lawsuit is not over yet. It hasn't been finalized. The judge in this case needs to hear from foster youth and make sure, hey, is this settlement agreement, doing the things that, you want to see changed in the system? And so we're hosting 2 Zoom meetings, one of which is today, with the plaintiffs to listen to youth who have experienced the foster care system or those that are currently in care. So some of you might have young people or young adults that you're working with that are invited to this Zoom to hear their feedback on the system and the settlement agreement. They've probably heard about it from their attorneys. They've probably heard about it from lots of different places. And so we're not necessarily asking you to go out and try to gather a bunch of people right now, but I do think it's important that we give people information about how young people can participate in these sessions. So if you are talking to folks today and throughout the rest of the week and you want to give them an opportunity to give us feedback on this, because genuinely, we want this settlement agreement and the work that we have to do to make things better. Genuinely, we want that. And so the only way we're going to do that is if we listen to young people who've experienced the system. On September 12th, the judge will hold a fairness hearing that will kind of finalize a settlement agreement after they've heard from young people that were formerly or currently experiencing foster care. And if all goes well, then the final settlement agreement will be signed and in effect. And simultaneously, we are going to be starting our relationship with Mr. Kevin Ryan, who is our federal neutral that's going to be coming alongside us to report to the court how we're doing. Why this is important to you. I made that commitment. Why this is important to you. This work and what Mr. Ryan and us and we will be working on are related to outcomes that you all are day-to-day impacting. That includes maltreatment in care when children and young people experience abuse while in foster care. Folks were really worried about that. And there's lots of ways that we can improve on our work in that. And I'm going to need your help with that, right? That's not something I can do alone. reentries into care. Let's look at ways that we can lower reentries into care. If we're getting kids home safely, are we connecting them with the services and supports and community that are going to help them stabilize so that they don't have to come back? And are there different things that we could be doing? Timely completion of case plans. This one I'm really excited about because y'all are knocking out of the park across the state. We have watched our family reports go through the roof in terms of timeliness. So I'm less worried about that one, but keep up the good work. We can always get better. And then timely mental health and medical assessments and referrals for services. We know that our staff do not complete the assessment, but you do make the referrals. And so we're going to want to partner with you all around all of this, because none of us are coming in from executive leadership team, and we're not coming in saying you all aren't doing something. What we're saying is we think we're doing everything we can. The neutral is going to come alongside us and say, well, have you thought about trying this? Let's maybe try some other things. So we really want to hear from you all, especially in these listening sessions that we're going to be having. There are ideas that you have about how we can do a better job on those things. We are absolutely willing to hear it. And then last but not least, the quality of our placements, not just the capacity of our placements. So we're really looking forward to diving into these further areas of transformation. We are not so sure how long the process is going to take. What we agreed to in the settlement agreement is no more than 10 to 12 years. We're really hoping if we make enough progress on our case plan that we can get out of it way earlier than that. And the only way we're going to do it is in partnership with you. So stay tuned. We're still getting our stuff in order. But I'm going to pass the lit torch to Tim. Tim?
Thank you, April. I think I'm going to flip right into an update about POP 118. During our last long session leading into this biennium, we proposed an investment to the legislature for more safety positions. These requested to invest in direct service staff and ensure timely safety assessments and safety program delivery, particularly in chronically unexpected or understaffed rural areas. The legislature passed this request through as POP 118, and they gave us just over 200 positions to distribute across the state. They were partially funded positions, so we weren't able to hire them right away, but we're now to the part of the biennium where we can start distributing those positions. And in future biennium, they are fully funded, so we'll have those positions going forward. After we found out we were going to receive the positions, we put together a few options for how best to utilize the positions, and the one that was approved does the following things. One, it takes a couple of the positions and distributes them to our central and shared offices to provide some infrastructure support to our teams. We have a few positions that will be utilized to clear some of our non-budgeted positions or double fills. One of the main things we're doing is we're going to increase stability in some remote locations. And then we're also going to use a couple of positions to move our training academy forward. That's going to be one supervisor and one SSS2. So we're excited to see that move. And then the rest of the positions will be allocated across the state to be utilized for moving our safety work forward. And we've started doing that. We're going to do it in 4 phases over the next year. The first phase is July through September. So the idea being we put the positions out in July and they're hired by about the end of September. Phase 1 is focused on the remote location stability. So looking forward to seeing those requisitions go through and getting those people on board. And then in October, we'll roll out phase 2 with the idea that that those positions would be hired by December. The focus for phase 2 is on supervisors, lead workers, and SSA so that they can be in place to support the caseworkers that will come later. Phase 3 is January to March of next year. And this is focused on the training academy and then support staff positions. And then finally, phase 4 will start in April. And we're hoping to have those positions hired by June, going into the next biennium. And that's where we'll see most of our SSS1 positions get distributed. We're excited about the investment that we were able to get from the legislature and hope it provides just a little bit of needed relief across the state. Okay, next up, we are going to hear from Tristan Fernandez on some legislative updates.
Yes, and thank you, Tim. As discussed at the last chat, legislative session ended March 7th, 2024, and the legislature is currently in the legislative interim. While out of session and during the interim, the legislature does come together from time to time to have legislative days. This year, the legislature did not have any legislative days during June, July, or August. They are not scheduled to meet again until September 23rd through 27th. However, that doesn't mean that the agency's work for the legislature stops during the interim. Instead, this is the time period that we have to implement the bills and policy options like the one you just heard about, Pop 118 from Tim. We are now required to request the items for our next biennial budget. As part of this budget process, which you heard about from Tim, we also put forward numerous requests and are happy to hear that several were in alignment with the governor's priorities. The governor, as part of her budget priorities, has put an emphasis on agencies to prioritize enhanced customer service, behavioral health, housing, equity, and support for working families who are cost burdened. As a result, in addition to what you heard about in Pop 118, the governor has expressed an interest in continuing investments in Family First prevention programming, making much needed investments in contract oversights, and investments in treatment services. Similar to what you heard about from Tim from the last cycle, we presented multiple options to the governor, and while we won't have final confirmation on which of these additional items of interest are funded until the governor's requested budget is released on September 1st, 2024, it's really encouraging to hear that these are going to be prioritized at such a high level by the governor. That is the major update because they are in the interim, and back to you, Tim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tristan. Molly, welcome to the chat. Can you give us an update on the Workforce Academy?
Yes, thanks, Tim. Morning, everybody. I've been in my new role again since March, and so I've had opportunity to really step into the work. And as a part of my role, one of the main areas that I'm focusing on is the workforce training and the development of our new staff. I'm really happy to report that we've made some great progress in the Workforce Academy infrastructure that April started before she moved into her director role. We recognize that there are districts that have their own academies currently running. And so the vision for this is to create a relationship with university partners across the state who will develop curriculum and integrate into the academy structures that already exist. For those counties and districts that don't have an academy, we would, of course, help them build the academy. By creating those relationships, we hope to create a consortium of universities who can deliver the best-in-class curriculum focused on child development and best practices. Another priority of the creation of these academies is to create a regional system so that new employees can attend in-person classroom settings closer to their home offices. For now, we're continuing to work and partner with Portland State University to provide essential elements. In addition to that, though, we have started the initial phase of the academy with the University of Oregon. We're in the process right now of working alongside the district manager in District 5, and we'll be collaborating with their leadership in the following months. District 5 has a 20-year legacy of a similar academy, and we're happy to connect with the University of Oregon to add their expertise to the curriculum. As we work on developing the academy, we will be consulting with our programs and different teams to ensure that we are incorporating rules, statute, and experts in our industry to assure that our curriculum is in line with best practice. Between this fall and early next year, we'll have a lot more specific details to share about the rollout and the plan. And that is all for our update. Thanks, Tim. Back to you.
Thank you for that update, Molly. Next up, we've got some guest presenters from the Equity Training and Workforce Development team. Lacey, would you like to introduce our guest presenters?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So a little history about training for resource parents from my perspective. The training RAFT now, which stands for Resource and Adoptive Family Training, came to fruition after a lot of work and planning about 2 years ago. As you all know well, resource and adoptive families play a really essential role in child welfare. And we've seen that role evolve over the years with our focus both on preservation and really timely family reunification. We know that the families that we serve have complexities, and we know that resource families are facing new complexities and challenges as they're looking at being a resource to families, a support and connection, and a support and reunification. We've spent some time really thinking about what resource parents need in order to move into those different roles. And this adopted training, this change in training is only one piece of it. We also have staff, the resource champions that work with Billy Cordero in every district who focus on retention. And in addition to that, we have developed respite for resource parents as well. We're certainly not perfect yet, and we're going to continue to work on how we analyze what families who are serving children experiencing foster care in Oregon need. And I'm really excited to have Rose and Carrie be able to be here today and talk to you about the training.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. We're super happy to be with you all today. My name is Rose Coakley. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a training and development manager in our equity training and workforce development team. And I have the privilege of overseeing our resource family training program. With me is the lovely Carrie. Carrie, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Carrie Marthaler. I use she, her pronouns.
Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. Well, Carrie and I, we're excited, like floating over Tahitian waves, excited to share with you all about this amazing resource adoptive family training, or RAFT as I'll refer to it as, which is for all prospective and initially certified resource and pre-adoptive parents. And as Carrie and I were preparing for today, we're so curious, how many of you have actually heard of RAFT? And I'm definitely talking about the training, not the boat. But if you haven't heard of RAFT, totally okay. You might be wondering, why does this matter to you? How does it pertain to your work? And we hope to answer these exact questions for you. So during today's chat, we invite you to think about how this information directly relates to your work in child welfare. Before we dive into what RAFT is, we're going to get there, but we're not quite there yet. I want to make sure you all know who we are and what we do. So Resource Family Training is part of this larger equity training and workforce development team, often referred to, because it's a mouthful, as the acronym ETWD. The ETWD was established as part of the Child Welfare Vision for Transformation to bring about guiding principle number 2, which is enhancing our staff and infrastructure. So supporting transformation through that diverse, supported, skilled, respected, engaged workforce, which totally includes our resource families. So as you can see on this slide, ETWD is made up of 3 units. We have our operations team, which includes those amazing child welfare equity coordinators. We have our workforce training team, and then you have those of us who work on the resource family training team. So here's who makes up our resource family training team. We design, develop, and coordinate training for prospective, currently certified resource and adoptive parents, which include things like the orientation training for resource parents, which if you haven't heard, was just updated and is beautiful this week in English and Spanish. We have our RAFT training that we're going to get to here in a moment. And then we also coordinate ongoing training. We have this really great menu of over 70 different ongoing training topics. We also do things such as supporting the workforce through RAFT facilitator training, monthly RAFT coaching, and triannual professional development opportunities. And you can find this information and more about the entire ETWD team on our child welfare training OWL page. But as I keep referencing, we're going to get there. We're actually here to talk to you about RAFT, which is that initial training series for all certified families. To best support families and send a consistent message agency-wide, it's critical that everyone in child welfare, regardless of your role here, have the same information and be able to share what it is, why is it important, and how do families access RAFT. So to get us a little more familiar with RAFT, I'm going to stop talking and we're going to actually show you a short video. And as you're watching, I want you to listen for why RAFT is essential for certified families in Oregon.
It was truly life-changing.
I feel like a whole nother side of my brain has opened up.
It opens your eyes to things you just don't know.
It's helped in tons of different ways.
Introducing RAFT, Resource and Adoptive Family Training, a state-of-the-art curriculum designed to empower resource parents, relatives, pre-adoptive parents and guardians with the necessary skills to provide best care. RAFT helps you understand what trauma is and how to parent a child who has experienced trauma, separation, and loss. RAFT helps you understand how to support and affirm children's sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, as well as children whose race or culture is different than your own. RAFT emphasizes the goal of foster care is reunification and the importance of partnering with a child's parents. RAFT is research-based and was created with leading experts on child trauma, separation, and loss, including Dr. Bruce Perry.
Calm yourself down, regulate yourself, and then help the child regulate, then connect with the child, and then reason with them.
RAFT partnered with resource and adoptive parents and children and families to learn directly from their lived experience.
I was really blown away by just seeing that it wasn't just me.
Oh my gosh, is this normal?
That it was a lot of other people's story too.
I see it in my kids where, oh, I know this. I saw that. I saw the video of that. Now I know how to react to that. Okay, kid, I got you.
Traditional parenting strategies don't work with children who've experienced trauma, separation, and loss. RAFT provides skills and a new way of thinking to meet children's needs. RAFT consists of 9 3-hour sessions, which are offered virtually via Zoom or in person on a variety of days and times to accommodate most schedules. Everyone needs RAFT, ODHS Child Welfare's required certification training, because it teaches the skills to provide best care for children. To register for RAFT, simply go to the ODHS Child Welfare website, fosteroregon.gov, then click on Certification RAFT Training and follow the steps on the page, or reach out to your local child welfare office. We look forward to seeing you in RAFT soon.
I feel excited. That was like really exciting. I want to go to RAFT now, right? Yeah. All right. Hopefully all, as you're taking some notes or thinking about what resonated with you, that you heard RAFT's a required training for all certified families because it teaches the skills to best care for our children experiencing foster care. So let's talk a little bit of background about RAFT, about where it came from, who helped create it. So RAFT comes from the National Training and Development Curriculum for Foster and Adoptive Parents, another acronym to throw at you, NTDC. NTDC was created with research and input from experts, resource and adoptive families, as well as children and families with lived experience in the child welfare system. And NTDC partnered with leading organizations to create this curriculum, including the Children's Bureau, where our former child welfare director, Rebecca Jones-Gaston, is now the commissioner, Spalding for Children, and all of these organizations that you see here on the slide. NTDC was designed specifically for families who are fostering or adopting through the public child welfare system. And so for us, we took the NTDC curriculum and adapted it to meet the specific needs and policies here in Oregon, really focusing on the vision for transformation. The vision for transformation and our agency's core belief that children do best growing up in their family and community is the foundation of everything we do in RAFT and is anchored back to in a majority of themes. And before we implemented RAFT, NTDC was piloted in September of 2020 in 5 states and 2 tribal nations via virtual delivery. And then later, we here in Oregon were actually asked to join another pilot of this curriculum for in-person training in 2023, along with Florida. So us in Florida, we were the 2 in-person pilot sites nationwide. So from this early pilot back in 2020, the NTDC curriculum has spread nationwide. And really excited to have this screen showed because this is the beginning of 2024. And what this is telling you is where NTDC is fully implemented, it's all those dark green states. And the light green states are exploring or in conversation with NTDC about implementation. I feel like this is pretty amazing. This is in less than 4 years' time and during a pandemic. And then in addition, this map shows all the tribal nations or territories that have implemented NTDC or are exploring implementation. So if we were to combine both maps, you would see that there are only 7 states where NTDC is not currently implemented or where implementation isn't being explored. And all of us here in child welfare know that change takes time, especially big sweeping changes like this. So to see the NTDC curriculum implemented or being explored for implementation in the majority of states across the nation in less than 4 years is really remarkable. So question is, how did this happen? Why did almost every state in the US, and most importantly, us here in Oregon, decide that NTDC was the right curriculum?
The answer is the NTDC curriculum helps states be in compliance with federal regulations, including Fostering Connections to Success and Increasing Adoptions Act, Family First Prevention Services Act, and Child and Family Services Review, which requires states to demonstrate particular outcomes in their CFSR for Title IV funding. Outcomes related to permanency, stability, continuity of family relationships and connections, and enhanced capacity to provide for children's needs. Now, you may be wondering, how does resource family training help states meet these regulations? Well, there's data to show this curriculum actually meets or improves all of these measures. The NTDC curriculum has been rigorously evaluated by leading data scientists at the University of Washington. The results consistently show tremendous improvement in all of those federally mandated areas. As part of the pilot, each participant completed a pre-test prior to training and then a post-test at the end of each theme. And as you can see, the difference in pre and post-test scores are incredible, right? A 43% improvement in trauma-related behaviors, 22% improvement for maintaining a child's connections, 15% improvement in scores around reunification. The evaluation results are statistically significant, meaning evaluators can say with 99.9% certainty that the results have a direct correlation to the curriculum. The results show participants had statistically significant improvement in every theme. That is 100% improvement. In addition, each participant completed a self-assessment immediately after training, and then again 90 days later to measure the sticking power of the content. And participants' score from time point 1, right after training, to 90 days later maintained these statistically significant improvements. This shows that not only did participants learn the information at the time of the training, but they also retained the knowledge and skills 3 months later. I don't know about you, but I don't know that I could remember something from last week, let alone 3 months ago. So this is huge. It shows the sticking power of this curriculum. So let's dive into the outcomes from all of this data. The results found that after completing training, participants were more likely to foster Hispanic and Latinx children, African American and Black children, and teens, which is critical because we know there's a disproportionate number of children of color in care here in Oregon. Participants were more receptive to the child's family connections and partnering with the child's family. Participants had a better understanding of trauma and the impact of trauma on children. Participants had a greater confidence in parenting children with challenging behaviors. And I think this last one is huge, and that is children cared for by resource parents who completed training had higher rates of permanency, 1.3 times the rate of reunification. And children cared for by families who completed training were 2.9 times, almost 3 times higher, 3 times more likely to achieve permanency through guardianship, which shows an understanding that relational permanency is just as important as legal permanency. So I invite you to think about how these outcomes directly impact all of the work that we do in child welfare. Imagine what having more confident and skilled families with a greater understanding of trauma and the ability to manage challenging behaviors could do. What do you think? Potentially greater placement stability for children, less placement moves, less temporary lodging, maybe a decrease in the likelihood of out-of-home care assessments, and more. Think about the impact of resource families partnering with a child's family, really valuing the child's connections. What could that do? Maybe quicker reunifications, less loss for the child, more natural supports for children, for families, and for resource families, and so much more. This is the why of RAFT. Yes, RAFT is required training, but more importantly, RAFT provides resource parents skills to provide best care for children, which in turn lightens the load for every one of us here in child welfare. So as we wrap up this really brief intro into RAFT, I hope you will continue to think about and reflect on why is it important in your role at child welfare that you know about RAFT. Remember, everyone in child welfare needs to know about RAFT. It's not just for RAFT facilitators. So what's your why? Why is it important that you know this? And then what would be helpful for you to know about RAFT? What additional information do you need? Please know that the Resource Family Training Team is here to support you in supporting families to provide best care for children. We invite you to reach out to us with any questions or for more information. We are happy to come to unit meetings or all staffs or any of the fun things that you have going on in order for us to continue this important conversation about RAFT. You can also find more information on our Resource Family Training OWL page, including all of the RAFT content. So if you're curious about what's in RAFT, it's all on the OWL page. You can also find RAFT coaches by district. That's on our RAFT coaches by district map, and so much more.
All right, thank you all so much. Hope you appreciated and got some information about RAFT today. Have a wonderful morning.
Thank you so much, Rose and Carrie, for that gold medal presentation. Really appreciate it. We are getting to the end of our webinar here. I know that there was some questions in the chat about a POP 118 overview. I know I covered that really quickly. Our goal was to get it in the chat. It doesn't look like we were able to get it in a format that we could post here, but we will be sending it out to everyone who is in attendance today. I also would encourage Rose and Carrie to go through the chat. There was some great feedback there, as well as a couple questions. So we'll want to make sure that we get those questions answered the best way possible. And now I'm going to kick it over to April for some last thoughts.
Thank you so much, Tim. As I mentioned earlier, and I saw all those comments in the chat, thank you all so much. We are going to take note. Think questions about their position descriptions, all those things are really important to us. So you all are just getting us started early. I'm so excited about that. Thank you so much for your engagement. As I mentioned earlier, I really look forward to those smaller meetings where we can have more intimate and focused conversations, and we can dig into confounding questions that we are all struggling around and work on them together. So expect to hear more from me very soon. I'm calling the Child Welfare Executive Lunch and Listen Hours. Also, I mentioned earlier that we are going to have an anonymous suggestion link as well. I'm going to be asking executive and central office leadership folks to have it in our signatures and our emails so that you never lose it, those kinds of things. So again, stay tuned for some changes to the way that we are engaging with you, getting feedback from you, and then look forward to in our next staff chat. Maybe we'll be able to bring some of the themes forward that both came out of the listening, bunch and listen hours, as well as the anonymous suggestion links. We want you to also take a moment to provide feedback on our meeting today. I think Jessica is going to post a poll for us. Thank you so much for your time. It is very precious to us. Stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your week, and be good to one another. Let's keep cheering for USA as we bring home more gold medals out there.